Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm Judith Garten with Biblical Prepping, and this is the prepper portion. Today I'm going to show you one of the easiest recipes I have ever done for making bread. It's simple. It has 4 simple ingredients, easy as pie. And I already have the water heating up in the background. I'm trying to get it to a little too high right now. I'm trying to get it to about 110, 115 degrees because that's what we're going to need for this elevation. So here we go. Now, let me introduce you to one of my favorite books. I've owned this since I first saw it in about 2009, 2010. This is Healthy Bread in 5 Minutes a Day. It is by Jeff Hertzberg, MD, and Zoe Francois. It is a very simple, easy method for making bread every single day. The principle behind it is so simple. All you need to do is mix up a master batch of dough. You keep it in the refrigerator. I have a batch I mixed up yesterday. It is right here. You'll need a 6-quart container for the standard size batch. This one I have, the container is not quite 6 quarts, so to make it easy as pie yesterday, I baked up a loaf of bread and we had that during the day. And then as you need or want bread, you simply pull out about a 1 pound, around grapefruit sized lump of dough, and then you follow the directions in the book. This is an excellent book. Now, I have had to modify the recipe, so I'm going to tell you what I'm doing today. I've had to modify it because, one, our elevation. Now, they recommend in the book that you don't need to make any adjustments unless you're over 4,000 feet. We're not, but the loaf yesterday rose too fast, cooked too fast on the outside, was a little soft on the inside. It was done, but just a little softer than I would have liked it. And too done on the outside in a couple spots. So we're going to make adjustments today. This is going to be another experimental loaf. We'll see how things go. All right, so let's get started. What I will be using today is 100% whole wheat. Now, I prefer, because it is the nicest wheat to make a softer, lighter loaf, I prefer hard white winter wheat. Now, some people prefer the hard red winter wheat for breads. I don't like the taste of it as much as I like the hard white winter wheat. The hard red has a tendency to be a drier loaf than what I like. And let's face it, Americans are accustomed to light and fluffy bread. Since we're more accustomed to that style of bread, it is better to use the hard white wheat. It is a lighter, fluffier, especially if you have children in the house. I recommend the hard white wheat. Now, what I'm going to be using today also is a commercially ground flour rather than grinding my own. I don't currently have an electric or a good quality hand grinder, and so I have been purchasing my hard white wheat. I have Prairie Gold from, I believe it's from Wheat, Montana. I love Prairie Gold. It is one I've been using for over 25 years. And I also bought a sprouted hard white wheat flour that is commercially ground. It makes the bread a little bit more digestible for those of us who are a little sensitive to wheat and gluten. I love the sprouted flour for so many things. It's working great. I've made cookies with it. It's wonderful. So that's what we're going to be using today. And the mixture I have is 50% sprouted hard white wheat, ground flour, and 50% Prairie Gold flour. So I have it already pre-measured. Here I have 6 cups of the flour, and I have my KitchenAid mixer bowl. We're going to knead this for about 8 minutes. That will help release the gluten, and I can do that with the mixer. I've also been known to do it with my arms. Yes, by hand kneading. For that, you would probably need to knead it for about 10 minutes, maybe 10 to 12. So I'm going to use the mixer. It's quicker. So I'm adding the flour to my KitchenAid mixer bowl. Now I've set aside a little extra flour in a measuring cup in case it's a little too sticky, because yesterday the dough was rather sticky. I had to add a little extra so that it will pull away from the sides of the bowl. Now, the other ingredients are, again, that was 6 cups of the whole wheat flour. I'm using only 1 tablespoon of a rapid rise yeast. I actually like the Kroger brand. It's really good, works great, always fresh, love it. So that is what I'm using. And I have pink Himalayan sea salt. And I'm going to measure out about 3/4 of a tablespoon. And I have a habit of measuring by hand with my salt, because I can tell about what is a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons and so on. And when you're measuring out your salt, because I'm not using a full tablespoon, I'm using about 3/4 of a tablespoon, give or take. It's about 2 teaspoons or a little bit more than 2 teaspoons. I just toss that in. And so the salt helps to balance out your yeast so it doesn't get too active, but that did not work yesterday at this elevation. That yeast was very active. Mix these dry ingredients really well right here in your bowl. Just using your spatula. You could also use a wire whisk, works great. Makes sure everything is evenly distributed. And then the next step is our water. Now my water is still too warm. It's reading 135 degrees. So I'm probably going to have to add a little bit of cold water. And I need, with my new measurements, only 3 cups of water. So I'm going to pour this out to measure my 3 cups. There we go. Now that is just shy of 3 cups of water. I'm going to check the temperature. My bowl is very cold this morning, so it may actually lower it enough. It may not. Well, it lowered it about 10 degrees. And I am checking the temperature with my handy dandy Pampered Chef. I love this thing. This thing's gotten so much use in this kitchen. The digital thermometer, it is great, wonderful. We are going to have to add a little bit of colder water to get it to the right temperature. I will be right back. I've had to add actually almost a whole half a cup, so I won't be using all the water that's in the pitcher. We are currently at 112 degrees. And another reason why I like to keep this temperature around 110 to 115 is because I use cold flour. It comes right out of the freezer. I keep my wheat flour in the freezer to keep it fresh. So we are going to now take the KitchenAid bowl, put it on the mixer stand, add the water while it is kneading, and I forgot to bring my dough hook. I'll be right back again. Okay, now you're not going to see all of me in this portion of the video. I'm going to stand near the mixer because it has a habit of getting a little out of control. It's a little bit older model. So I'm going to stand next to it, but you won't see all of me probably in the video. What we're going to do is we're going to place the bowl on the stand and add the water while it starts to mix. And before I start the mixer, I do want you to know when you see it operating in really high speed during this video, it's kneading the whole 8 minutes in a very short period of time. That's because I'm going to speed up the video. I am not actually operating the mixer at that high speed. You should only knead at 1 or 2 the settings of 1 or 2 on your stand mixer. You shouldn't go much higher than that. Please be familiar with your mixer. As it kneads dough, you don't want it jiggling and wobbling and wandering off the countertop. It could be a big mess. So just that note. I added a little bit of extra water to the bowl. I may need to add a little bit more. As I'm playing with this recipe and I'm familiar with how the whole wheat dough should look, I may need to adjust things a little bit as I go along. I've actually already added the full 3.5 cups of water that I had in my bowl, in my measuring bowl. However, I've added an additional 1/4 already as well. So you'll see that as you work through the dough, you may need to ensure that you're measuring it accurately and getting it to the proper consistency, because I've had to tweak this recipe down a size. That's why we're working with this. All right, we are back now with a fully kneaded batch of dough. Here is your dough. If you'll notice, it's a little sticky. It needs to be a little sticky. See how it sticks to my fingers a little bit. So you want it to be a little sticky. I will coat it with flour and place it in the bowl to rise. Get a little more flour. So we're going to dust it with a little flour. Flip it over. Get it fully coated. And it is placed in our bowl. All right, now you want to allow this to rise. I'm going to cover it with a damp cloth, and I'm going to put it over here on the counter, and it will rise for about 2 hours until it is either flat on top or it collapses. And then I'm going to move it into a container for the refrigerator. So we will be back with that. Hello again. And we are done now. We've had our brunch, and before we ate, this bowl was actually quite rounded. So as you can see, it is flat on top now, and it has started to fall. So this is perfect for me to go ahead and get ready to process. Now this particular dough, I am going to bake a focaccia out of this one. You probably won't see me doing the whole process on that, but we will be taking some pictures of the finished product. We're going to eat that later as a snack before dinner, and then we're just going to have a light salad for supper tonight. And there is our dough. Now this batch was only 6 cups of flour, and I will tell you, so far I have divided up the other dough into 4 full loaves. So this one will probably end up being 3 full loaves and that small focaccia, because remembering that we want to be able to take the dough and make grab off 1 pound loaves. So the focaccia is going to be smaller since it's going to be a snack. So I'm going to take a few minutes and cut this into 1 pound sections and see what we've got left. I'll be right back. All right, now as I suspected, we have 3 1 pound sections from this batch of dough. All right. And we have this little guy right here. I'm going to put it in here so you can see the size difference, hopefully. See how much smaller it is. It only weighs in at 9 ounces, okay, on the scale. So this one is a little over ½ a pound. And I'm going to put this on some parchment, and I'm going to allow it to rise, and then I will put fillings on it in about 45 minutes or so, and then we will bake it and allow it to cool a little bit, and we'll have that for a snack probably around 3 o'clock maybe this afternoon. And that is it. Now this batch is my second batch. This one is going to go in the refrigerator, and as we use dough, we will be using the older dough first. And we now have 2 loaves in there, or 2 batches, depending if we want garlic knots, things like that. And we've got 3 here. I won't need to make up any new dough probably until the end of next week or early the following week. But we do have the feast days coming up, so I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be doing as far as that goes, because I'm experimenting with some things for some new videos for you. And we'll be talking about leavened and unleavened bread coming up. So I wanted to thank you for joining us today. And as I said, I will include the photographs of the finished products, the loaf of bread that I'm making from the older batch, and the focaccia from the newer batch. So you will see the end product in that. Please remember to turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel. And we are going to have a lot of new videos coming up, hopefully in the very near future, on different topics for new preppers, for experienced preppers, and we want to make sure that you don't miss out. Have a great day, blessings, and shalom.